I love me a good Tim Burton film, and that's why I got nervous when I found out that they were making a sequel to the dark fantasy horror comedy Beetlejuice. My instincts kicked in, and I 100% believe that revisiting the franchise 36 years later with an additional film is a sure way to ruin it for me and other dedicated fans. But will I be surprised by Beetlejuice Beetlejuice? Welcome to another episode of Clearing Up the Past. I'm your nostalgia historian, David Musgrave, aka Millennial Dave. Now, I'm going to break down the movie for you and my sister, giving her a chance to respond during the second half of this video. And don't worry, we will not be spoiling anything major here. So, I'm just going to read some about the plot here, just to kind of, if you haven't seen the film, or even if you had, just kind of give you a refresher here. Just very basic stuff here. In 2024, Lydia Dietz, host of supernatural talk show Ghost House, grapples with the recent death of her father and her estranged relationship with her daughter Astrid. While preparing for the wedding to her boyfriend Rory, Lydia encounters the mischievous ghost Beetlejuice, who remains fixated on her after their past entanglement. Meanwhile, Astrid discovers her own psychic abilities, and she has a little adventure of her own. I would say more here, but I really don't want to ruin some of the bigger surprises of the movie, even though they're kind of obvious. But as Lydia confronts Beetlejuice to assist Astrid with the stuff she's got going on, chaos ensues with the arrival of both Dolores, Beetlejuice's vengeful ex-wife, and ghost detective named Wolf. That's a very high-level overview. And I am going to get a little more detailed when I start talking about the characters. Lydia Dietz, played by Winona Ryder. So Lydia is now a mother and a television hostess of Ghost House, which is, you can kind of think of that as like a show along the lines of Crossing Over with John Edwards, if you remember that delightful show from the early 2000s. I like Lydia, the character, and I also like Winona Ryder quite a bit. But she feels very one note in this movie. Very weak character, in my opinion. She's kind of just going along with whatever all the other characters want to do. And this is true when it comes to her daughter, her boyfriend Rory, and Beetlejuice himself. Beetlejuice, played by Michael Keaton. So once you remember that this is supposed to be a very silly movie, you'll enjoy Beetlejuice. As always, he's got the over-the-top slapstick fart jokes going on, but I found myself wanting to dislike this movie because of just how downright dumb some of the things were. Like once Beetlejuice shows up, it gets pretty silly, obviously pretty quick. But then I kind of got over myself and remembered that it was supposed to be fun. And what I found at that point was that it was a lot of fun. With that being said, if I thought Lydia's character was watered down, I'd have to say that Beetlejuice was half drowned. I know it's not the 80s, so Michael Keaton was not enjoying performance enhancers, and the writers obviously can't present the same level of irreverent humor as they could, but I often found myself wondering if maybe the actor needed a nap. He kind of just was a little sleepy through a lot of the performance, I thought. Delia Dietz, played by Catherine O'Hara. And now we're talking. I absolutely love Catherine O'Hara. I loved her in Home Alone, Best in Show, Schitt's Creek. Pretty much everything I've seen her in, she's awesome. So this is no exception. Since we're on a roll, though, with the watering down criticism, I'll apply it to Delia Dietz as well, but in a good way, because Delia Dietz is a watered-down Moira Rose from Schitt's Creek, even though Delia came first. And I really do mean that in a good way. Both characters are entitled, eccentric, and they're hilarious scene stealers. However, Delia is not as boisterous, and she really kind of has come into her own after the death of her husband. And she kind of always feels like she's in control no matter how crazy the situation gets. So I gotta say she's probably in contention to be my favorite character from the movie. Astrid Dietz, played by Jenna Ortega. Okay, if you loved Wednesday Addams, but you kind of wish she had a slightly more normal family, well, you're going to love Lydia Dietz's daughter, Astrid Dietz. Honestly, I get why they cast her for this role, and she was fine. Rory, played by Justin Theroux. Now, this is a man who has been in some really weird movies, and I'm looking at you, Mulholland Drive. I really wish that I could have liked this character a little bit more. I get that he's supposed to be Lydia's annoying boyfriend, but honestly, I didn't even love hating him. Wolf Jackson, played by Willem Dafoe. So Wolf Jackson in life was a B actor who played in detective movies. Death has obviously not really stopped that for him because he kind of approaches everything as a detective in the afterlife as though he was shooting a film. He kind of preps himself, psychs himself up like he was going into a scene. I think sometimes he talks about redoing, lines and things like that as he's going into a situation. Which sounds like it would get bothersome really quickly, but then I need to remind you we're talking about Willem Dafoe, and he really nails it. I think he did a solid job. Really, my only criticism for the character is that he is highly involved in the side story, which I really didn't care for. Dolores, played by Monica Bellucci. So this is Beetlejuice's ex-wife. Again, a side story that I wasn't super into. I think she was actually in the movie far too infrequently for me to even start to be able to care. But what I did like about the character, even though the side story is kind of weak in my opinion, I didn't really follow it or care for it that much compared to the rest of the movie. What this character does do is give us some backstory and even almost an origin story for Beetlejuice. So that's pretty cool. But other than that, it's a character that I could take or leave. So there are actually many other notable characters and cameos throughout the film. For example, Danny DeVito is in this movie. Also, Bob the Shrunken Head guy from the first film. They have a lot of fun scenes with him. And, if you haven't seen the film, I'm not going to ruin by going into too many of the other characters or plot. I'll let you kind of discover that yourself. But yeah, a lot of fun stuff and a lot of fun characters here. So overall, I really, really enjoyed Beetlejuice. I know it doesn't sound like it because I had a lot of criticisms there as I was talking about the characters, but I liked it a lot more than I was afraid I would like it. It really does nail the original feeling that Tim Burton-y goodness is absolutely there. It expands our understanding of Beetlejuice and the afterlife. And actually, I really do think that it cleverly handles the death of actor Jeffrey Jones, who played Charles Dietz, in kind of a cool way that, again, I'm not going to get into. If you haven't seen the movie, I don't want to spoil it because that's actually really kind of a cool moment. And I think they did that well. And it sort of explains why the Maitlands are not part of the story. And then there's the musical number. So everyone remembers Harry Belafonte's Banana Boat Deo. And the scene that accompanies that in the first movie. Well, Beetlejuice kind of takes that concept and knocks it up about 50 notches with the song MacArthur Park. So some of you will remember that song right away. Others will remember it when I say someone left the cake out in the rain. And then others might be hearing this song for the very first time in this movie. But one way or the other, the scene is so long and awkward. And Winona Ryder's face through most of it it's awful, it's painful, and it's amazing. It's truly amazing. That moment of the movie alone is worth price of admission, as they say. Oh, and Danny Elfman. I don't need to say anything else there because I'm pretty sure you can hear Danny Elfman music in your head right now. It's pretty much as soon as the opening credits come on, you're transported back to where you need to be. I hope you've enjoyed my quick take on the film, and until next time, I've been David Musgrave, aka Millennial Dave. When the fog of the mundane muddles your day, fear not, because we're clearing up the past. Erin, what'd you think?
Hi, it's Big Sis Gen Xie, also known as Erin. I am here to answer David's question and give my opinion on the new movie, Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, obviously the sequel to the original Beetlejuice. And I feel like I need to preface with saying that I didn't love the original Beetlejuice. It's a little too much for me. It's a little too over the top, too silly, too weird. I'm not a huge fan of Tim Burton's either, which is an unpopular opinion with my brother and his family. They love Nightmare Before Christmas in particular. He's brilliant. I think Tim Burton is very brilliant, very creative. He's great at what he does. It's just for me personally too much. It's too weird. He's artistic and I admire him for that. And like I said, obviously he's good at what he does. It's just not my personality. That being said, I am trying to keep my dislike for the genre in general separate from, is this a good movie or not, with good actors, is it entertaining, so forth. So I will start with the characters, having said all of that. Lydia Deetz, I'm going to try to go in the same order that David did, played by Winona Ryder. I kind of agreed. She was kind of one note in this. I don't feel like she was as interesting as she was in the original. Winona Ryder, to me though, as an actress, I feel like all of her characters are the same. I'm thinking of Edward Scissorhands, which is a Tim Burton film that I enjoy, by the way. That one is actually not too weird, just weird enough. But anyway, I agree. She kind of just goes along with others. She's just kind of there. Moving on to Beetlejuice, played by Michael Keaton. I don't know if it's the actor and him aging that made David think that he's like half awake. He's a little sleepy and needs a nap. Or if it's just tired at this point. To me, that's what it is. But like I said, I don't enjoy the over-the-top slapstick silliness. So, I don't know. I wasn't blown away by this performance, but it was okay. He was Beetlejuice. Number 3, Delia Deetz. Catherine O'Hara can do no wrong. I feel like she was a bright point in the movie. She was entitled and eccentric, but you don't dislike her for that. It's kind of endearing, and she did it brilliantly. Number 4, Astrid Deetz. So I can't think of the name Astrid without thinking of The Office, the one where Jan has her baby and names her Astrid, and Michael pronounces it Astrid. And all through this movie, I kept thinking that, like, there's Astrid again. I do think that Jenna Ortega deserved more than fine for this. She does the gothic horror comedy genre very well, and I feel like she brought with her a whole fresh fan base from that genre by playing Wednesday Addams. So I felt like Jenna Ortega kind of brought the modernity into this, that this new generation who maybe has not seen the original Beetlejuice kind of needed. She brought them with her to this movie. So I think she deserved more than fine, and she did a good job playing Astrid as well. Number 5, Rory, Justin Theroux. He was fine. Like David, though, I didn't love hating him. I think they could have written that part out of the movie, and it would have worked still. Kind of the same with Wolf Jackson, played by Willem Dafoe. I I did like the throwback to the film noir detective movies. That was kind of neat. I like that little aspect of it. It was man. It was okay. Dolores, Beetlejuice's ex-wife, played by Monica Bellucci. Say what you will about the character, the backstory. Monica Bellucci is just gorgeous. I think she's so pretty. Especially, I feel like I looked up her age and she's older than me, and I was kind of blown away by that. Like, she's just beautiful. The backstory there was interesting. Kind of like David said, Beetlejuice, almost an origin story for him. So I liked that part of it. As far as the other kind of side stories and things, I felt like they might have been a little too much, just in the fact that I felt like we were being thrown a lot of them, and I'm not sure that they were really cohesive and necessary, and there were so many that I just kind of didn't care. I don't know. There was no investment there for me. I wasn't really invested in the side stories. So, in summary, I really, really, when the movie started, I loved the opening. You're going through countryside and you come to the town, and it's like it's the model that you're seeing, but that with the music and like the autumnal vibes and the Halloween spooky vibes, like, just sucked me in right away. And I got this, warm, cozy, nostalgic feeling, like a kid at Halloween, like I'm about to go trick-or-treating. And it also kind of felt like, when you were a kid, at least in the 80s, if you're a kid of the 80s, it's the same feeling as when there were like holiday specials on TV. So Halloween, Christmas, Easter, it didn't matter what it was. When there were holiday specials on TV, you just got that sense of excitement, like something special is coming up and it's different, it's an exciting time of year, like a kid at Christmas time. So that right away, I got that feeling from the opening of the movie. It was cozy and fun and nostalgic. And that's as far as it went for me. I was very excited when this movie opened that way, and I thought, I might like this more than I thought, if I'm going to have that feeling through the whole movie, but I just didn't. The vibe didn't continue through the whole movie. Same thing with David mentioned the Tim Burton goodness. I guess I'd have to be more of a fan of Tim Burton. So that just didn't hit for me either. But the song, the dance number, the musical number, I couldn't tell if you liked it or not, David. I think you did. But I agree, it was a little long, a little too much. In the original, when they're singing Deo, I don't know if that's even the name of the song. Like, it was cute and just strange enough and weird enough. This one was just like, I was sitting there watching it. And when it started, I was like, okay, I see why they're doing this. It's a throwback to that time in the original Beetlejuice when they're sitting around the table and start singing. Because it's weird and almost like... it's supernatural, and I think that's what it's supposed to be, obviously, when you watch it. If you know, you know. But, yeah, a little too much. As for the song, MacArthur Park, I was familiar with the song. My husband wasn't, but I don't know if you remember this, David. Our mom used to sing that song. She liked it. She thought it was funny. And I thought it was a great choice, because, again, just weird enough. It was interesting. It was an interesting choice. But yeah, they just took it a little too far. I do like that they kept with the original feeling. I heard they used a lot of practical effects rather than resorting to all CGI, and I liked that, so that they kind of continued that. And like I said, as far as like with Jenna Ortega, they married the old with the new, and kind of brought the nostalgia into the modern world. So they did a good job with that. Overall, David's score was 76 out of 100. I'm going to flip those numbers, and mine's going to be 67 out of 100 because it was an interesting movie. They did a good job in kind of keeping with the original movie. However, I thought there was a little too much. They could have shortened the movie. They could have taken some characters out completely. And I think it would have been better. Like I said, it was entertaining. I stayed awake. That's saying a lot when I go to the movies. Ask my kids. But I'm not going to rush out to see it again, or probably, I don't know if I'll ever watch it again. I might. I don't know. But, so overall, good movie. Not a great movie. 67 out of 100. Until next time, this has been Gen Xie, also known as Erin. And I am here with David, clearing up the past.